Big Sills! You guys know what election deniers are? You know who election deniers are, right? These are people that don't believe their particular candidate lost an election. We have a sports version of those guys. They're called Dallas Cowboy fans. They're called defeat deniers, though. They're defeat deniers. And even the players, they reflect that attitude and thinking. So let me lay this out today on what Micah Parsons said about the game on Sunday that they just lost. Here, let me get the quote. I want to get the exact quote. Here it is. We are even more confident than ever before. That is a loser mentality. That's a loser mentality. Micah Parsons is a loser. And there lies the difference between Jerry Jones and Jimmy Johnson in Dallas. Do you think you're going to parade around a locker room or you're going to parade around the media after you get your face kicked in by San Francisco by 32 and you lose a game to the other dominant team in the NFC and you're saying we're more confident? He was parading around after the Niners kicked the living shit out of him. And now he's parading around saying we're even more confident. How can you be more confident in losing? Man, I love sports. I love sports. And you know what? If you're going to call me Sills, oh man, get off my lawn, I'm going to stay on that lawn because you know why? These kids today, no disrespect to people that are born in this generation, fuck that mentality. You're a loser. Okay? I will never settle for an attitude like that. Now, do you learn from mistakes? Absolutely. The only way you become successful is from mistakes, not being a front runner. But you don't go around telling people, hey, I feel more confident than ever before because the Eagles kicked our ass and we couldn't stop him at the end of the game. I mean, give me a break. We're more confident. Dude, you know what the Eagles have this year that is on display every week? They got a sense of urgency. They got a t-shirt that they wear that you just don't see and others don't see it. It says unfinished business. That organization is built on 1-0. I always said this about Tom Brady. I said Tom Brady's the greatest 1-0 quarterback in the history of the National Football League. He never looked behind. He never looked forward. There lies the difference between him and guys like LeBron James. LeBron James posts on his Twitter page how great it is to be the all-time leading scorer, how great it is to pass Kobe, how great it is to do this and that, how great it is that, look at what I did. You never heard Brady talk like that, and you never hear Jalen Hurts talk like that either. You know, it's funny. I've never heard Jalen Hurts mention one thing about being the runner-up for the MVP. I've never heard Jalen Hurts talk about his statistics. I've never heard Jalen Hurts talk about himself, actually. If you think about it, you know what the great character of that guy is? I've never heard him talk about himself unless it was in a defeat. Those are winners. This is on me. Yeah, we played great. That's a guy you run through walls for and you run into a boiling pot of water for. That's why they don't lose. That's why they've won 22 or 26. 26 weeks. They've held the record for the best record in the NFL. That's like a college number, like I said yesterday. The great ones make it about their teammates. You think the Eagles would be parading around if they got beat by the Cowboys going like this? Hey, we learned a lot about Dallas. That guy is the biggest. I don't want to make it personal, but man, that is such a loser mentality. I hate that. Again, like I said, you learn from failure. You do. There's no doubt about it. You're going to fail more in life. Dude, Edison, what does he always say? I figured that there was 20,000 ways not to make a light bulb? He only needed one way to figure it out. It's about perseverance. It's about pressing forward. It's not about talking about what happened on Sunday. Shit, man, that Cowboy game for the Eagles is in the rearview mirror. And you know what? That Eagle game for the Cowboys is still front and center like it was after 49er game. What a loser. An absolute loser mentality. I would never, dude, could you imagine a guy like that walking around a Jimmy Johnson locker room and talking that shit? Holy cow. He would come down on you like a thunderbolt. Oh my God. Talking about losing, not happening. And then making it and dressing it up to make it look like, I don't know. We have election deniers in this country. And we have defeat deniers. They're called the Cowboys. What a great drama. The Cowboys are the best drama in TV. They're just not a really good football organization. Are they good? Yeah, but they get in their own way. And you know what gets in their own way? Their mentality. That's a loser talking like that. I mean, I'm Micah Parsons, who's supposed to be the best defensive player and the best player on the Cowboys, is saying, we learned from, and we're more confident now than ever before. So the 2 ass beatings that you took, you've learned a lot about yourself. What's that? You can't win against the big boys? There's something wrong with that guy. Then again, that's an organizational cultural thing. You know, I heard Tone say something about the culture of the Eagles. And they were talking about Nick. Nick is benefiting from the culture. He wasn't part of that culture. That culture has been instituted for the last 20 years. Does he know how to manage the culture? Is he being part of it? Is he adapting to it? Absolutely he has. But that's not his culture. That culture has been implemented from the first day that Jeffrey Lurie bought this team. And Joe Banner. And when they hired Howie back in 2000. This thing has been nurtured the whole way for the last 25 years. That's why they don't want cancers in the locker room. Nick's part of it. Cowboys don't have a culture. Steelers have a culture. Look at how are the Steelers winning? Culture. They used to be the gold. Well, they kind of still are the gold standard. 3 coaches since the last time we put a man on the moon. There's been more popes and presidents in the United States and around the world for the popes than coaches in Pittsburgh. That's culture. That's how you keep pushing forward, driving forward, believing in what you're doing. 3 coaches in Pittsburgh is how you do it. Not compromising yourself and telling, hey, I feel more confident after getting my shit kicked in. Dallas is such a you know what? I take it back. Dallas is such a, I don't know. They're never going to win a Super Bowl with Jerry Jones. In a way, they're just not. Maybe Steven will change the dynamic when Jerry's out of the way, but Jesus criminy. You got people walking around your locker room with their heads held high after getting beat by Philly and the way they got beat. How do you do that? Wow, I would be so angry and upset that we lost the way we did and how we lost like that and decision-making process we had in that. I would be so upset. I wouldn't be talking about rose petals and rainbows and butterflies. Man, that is so stupid. He's a dumbass. Champions don't talk like that. Yeah, I learned a lot about Frazier after I fought him. And Frazier's like this. I can't wait to fight that guy again because I'm going to kick the shit out of him. I'd rather have him say that. I want Philly again. Okay. That's the attitude I want to see. Not, wait, no matter if we win or lose on the scoreboard, we still won. Okay. That's why I haven't been to an NFC championship game in 30 years. Red Sox had the Babe curse. Cowboys have the Jimmy Johnson curse. Dirty D. Amen. Amen. Damn, dog. What is wrong with those folks? Jesus criminy. The segment with my man Tone at 3:30. Angelo Cataldi, the legendary Philadelphia sports talk host, will be with us at 4:30. The greatest sports talk host in Philadelphia sports history will join us at 4:30, Angelo Cataldi. Philly Godfather at 5:30 will join us, and we will get his perspective. One of the biggest fans of the Eagles, loved it when the Cowboys went down. He'll join us at 5:30. Holy cow, man. Defeat deniers is who the Cowboys are. The Dallas Cowboys are clearly the Dallas Kardashians. They don't know. I mean, I've never seen people win more with no talent. I mean, honestly, the Kardashians, I give them a lot of credit. You know why? What makes the Kardashians incredible? All they do is make money off their brand. That's what the Cowboys do. They make money off their brand. They don't win. They're not in any big games. They don't win. Aikman said this 2 years ago. When's the last time the Cowboys won a big game? That's a big game. Jalen Hurts is moving this way. Okay? You know, they're trying to give Dak Prescott credit because I heard Ryan Clark on ESPN go like this. Now I know Dak Prescott can show up in championship moments. Dude, the culture we have today is so ass backwards. I hate it. I don't belong in a culture like that. And I agree with you guys. It's past my time. Because I would never have that mentality. I'm talking about a guy who's never won a big game in his entire life. And Ryan Clark is now coming out. He's like one of the head guys at ESPN too. He's going like this. Now I know Dak can show up in championship moments. What about the dude across the line of scrimmage? What about him? You know what's crazy? The media is pushing me more and more towards Jalen Hurts as the underdog. He's an underdog. Plain and simple. How could a $50 million quarterback be an underdog? He is. Jalen Hurts is the biggest underdog in the NFL as a starting quarterback. He is an underdog. No matter what his record is, it doesn't matter. They're still going to look at someone else more. They're giving Dak Prescott more kudos because he showed up for the test. I don't belong here. Because if I was the coach of that football team after that game, I'd look at those guys and go like this. Hey, you got the Giants on the other side of this. I don't want to hear anybody bitching and crying about losing this Eagle game. We got a task at hand. There's a lot of football to be played. Okay? We have a sense of urgency now. We're 2.5 games behind them guys. We can't make mistakes. I wouldn't be talking about, hey, we showed up, we played well. And now we get the Giants. That's how you get beat this week. Man, that is such a loser attitude. I don't know how you tolerate that if you're Mike McCarthy. I've never played for a coach that would tolerate that. I've, I know I played for tough coaches, Coach Perkins and Jimmy and Tom Landry and all those guys. I played for some really rough coaches. Man, I'm from a different era, dude. That is exactly why we hate the Cowboys, Sills. Every year, week after week. Dude, you're taking bows for losing. And the media eats it because you know why? They don't care about reality. They care about ratings. Oh, man. Boy, sports coverage has changed. I used to get accused of sensationalizing things. I still do. And all the pundits and all the people back in the day who were all the journalists, why do you think my reputation is the way it is? Because they hated the way everyone's doing what I did 35 years ago. Everyone's doing what I did 35 years ago today. I watch ESPN and I watch Pat McAfee. I've heard more F-bombs on that show than I've ever said in my 35 years on broadcasting. And you're celebrating losing. This is such a mentality today. What the White House having like the winner and loser of the national championship go to the White House is a joke. Why should the second place team show up? They lost. Well, it's competition. Fuck that. Are you crazy? Man. Defeat deniers are in our society today. That's why when I ask you guys a question like, are you happy with Jeffrey Lurie having won only one Super Bowl in 30 years, his 30th years this year? Half of you say yes. Half of you are happy with 22 wins out of 26. By the way, I'm not going to lie. I think that's sensational, but it's not enough. It doesn't validate you. I hear people talking about Nick Sirianni's win percentage. So what? He's won 700%. Dick Sirianni's not a better coach than Vermeil. Dick Vermeil's got just a little bit above 500. He's not a better coach than Vermeil. Guy up in Green Bay has a 680 win percentage. What's that mean? Kyle Shanahan has a great win percentage. What's that mean? What's he won? Has he validated anything? What does Nick Sirianni have over Kyle Shanahan? Nothing. And vice versa. Coaches are validated not by their one-loss record. They're validated by their championships because they can't play. At least a player like Marino can validate his play because you got to build a team around him. Coaches only validated by one thing. Have you won a title? Not your one-loss percentage record. That has nothing to do with the narrative because that's why Marty Schottenheimer's won 200 games. We'll never get to the playoffs. Why? We'll never get to the Hall of Fame. Why? Because he didn't perform well in the postseason. He's like 4-14 or 6-14 or some shit like that. Coaches are only validated by one thing, not one-loss records. And by the way, I don't think Nick's not a good coach. I think he's a perfect generational coach of today. They have love for us, Sills. Look at how many Cowgirls and 49er fans we have in Philly chat. How you doing? Prince. Dude, Jesus criminy. That mentality of celebrating losing is so a thing today in our society. Look, I'm not preaching. I hate preachers too. And I'm not talking religious preachers. I'm talking about preachers who come on the radio or come on shows like this. And I hate preaching. I don't want anyone preaching to me either. Okay? I don't like it. But damn, dude. I've heard nothing since Sunday. I swear to you. Remember I told you this the other day? By Wednesday, you would think that the Cowboys won. Crazy. We're even more confident than we were ever before today, Michael Parsons. Kid, what have you done in the NFL that gives you confidence that you have a good football team? Name me one thing. Get this. What impact have you had on your football team as a championship football player or future championship football player? Lawrence Taylor won titles, put teams. Do you know the first year that LT came into the league that the New York Giants hadn't gone to a playoff game in the postseason in like 30 some odd years? It was 31 years. LT's first year, he puts the Giants in the playoffs. And not only was that guy the rookie of the year defensively, he was the defensive player of the year. That's impacting your team. That's when you move the needle. Rams are signing Carson Wentz. Good for Carson. Good. Good for Carson Wentz. And he's in a perfect position to save his career now. He's got a genius coach. He's got a genius coach. Look, I'm going to say this to you guys, and half of you will agree, and the other half will not. Carson Wentz's time in Philadelphia was a success. Let me get to Dirty D. Sirianni was asked after the game about the side moving Slay in the slot against Lamb late in the fourth, and Sirianni said he had no idea that happened. I said, damn, Sills was right. He's a cheerleader. Well, that could also mean this, though, Dirty D. He gave him the autonomy to do it on his own. That's coaching, too. Okay? That's coaching, too. So you got to kind of, hey, allowing your coaches to coach in game is also a trait you have to give the coach. Let's be fair here. Okay? Let me say this to you about the Carson Wentz signing with the Rams. Congratulations. You had a tremendous successful run in Philadelphia. It ended horrifically. You were part of a Super Bowl championship team. You finished second in MVP voting. You won a division title. You were the first quarterback in Philadelphia football history to throw for 4,000 yards. You set records. You have the all-time single-season touchdown number. You have helped that franchise win home field advantage. Without you playing the way you did, Philly doesn't have home field advantage. And you don't win the Super Bowl in 17. Now, the problem is your bedside manner is on display here. People don't like your bedside manner. How much of that is the Philadelphia Eagles talking shit on Wentz after the fact, too? Could always be a factor, other teams. Look at Jim Irsay. Jim Irsay said that 3,900 yards and 27 touchdowns and 6 picks was a bad season. Really? Take a look at what you're doing now at quarterback, guy. They won 9 games with him. So that, whatever Jim Irsay says, I'm not sure he's not popped up on pills. And you're never going to really give Carson Wentz the kudos and respect he had in Philadelphia for what he did. By the way, he was a shooting star. Lasted 5 years, roughly. Okay? Only one way to look at it. I can't wait to get Angelo on. He may disagree. He may completely disagree. Now, are the Eagles in a better place today without him? Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Carson. See you later. I'd rather have Hurts. Difference is he owns a Super Bowl ring. And some would go like this, well, that was Nick Foles. Not really. Okay? Nick won a few games, most important games, no question. That guy went 11-2 that season. Had a phenomenal year. And that year that he threw for 4,000 yards too, that one guy over 500 yards receiving, there's no A.J. Browns on that team. And I'm not dissing on Jalen here with that. Every team's different. Okay? I actually think Carson Wentz is going to do a great job in Los Angeles with Sean McVay. Okay? I do. That's what you call a team effort. Love to see it. Absolutely. That was next man up stuff. That 17 team is not as talented as these last 2 years. Okay? They're not as talented. But you know what they had the same thing that these two teams have? Is willpower. Do you know the difference between the 2022 and the 2023 team and the 17 team? Do you know what the difference is? I'm talking about the players on the field. There were key experienced guys in key positions on that team, okay, that won the Super Bowl. And you had a guy play out of his mind like Eli Manning at quarterback. And you had coaches coaching out of their mind. Okay? Everything worked together. If I'm not mistaken, right? How many quarterbacks got hurt in the playoffs? Everything lined up great. Look, I said this the other day, and I'm going to pull it back. I don't think it was a fluke, but they didn't sustain that. It was not sustainable. They learned a lot from that 17 team. Okay, they did. They learned a lot from that 2017 team. Unsustainability. Okay, they're not making the same mistakes they made in 18 this year. And everybody knows, you see that all the time after a Super Bowl appearance. Okay? Absolutely. How do I think Carson Wentz will do in Los Angeles? Outstanding. He's got great coaching around him again. Okay? He's got Cooper Kupp. I think he'll do a fabulous job. It wouldn't shock me if he starts this weekend. And that Sean puts him right in there. And they win some ball games. Sean's a heck of a play-calling coach. Who do they play this week? Or are they on a bye? I think they're on a bye. He'll start the next game for the Rams. He'll start the next game. Because they're in a bye now. They'll get him his time. And he'll start coming out of the bye. Good for Carson. They must not think that Stafford's going to make it back. I was told that Stafford was going to make it back after the bye. But then again, you got to remember something about the Rams. Weren't they trying to move him in the offseason? They may just shut him down. I don't know. Remember, Sills, they had Mayfield, and look what they did for his career. Absolutely, they got him a job in Tampa. You shouldn't be mad at Wentz. Wentz helped bring you a Super Bowl. Did he let here's the tombstone for Carson Wentz in Philly. Thank you, Carson, for helping being part of a team that brought home one of the most significant championships in Philadelphia sports history. Unfortunately, it didn't end well, and unfortunately, you weren't the long-term answer here. Good luck to you in your future. See you down the road. Next. No ill will. You can't have ill will towards Wentz. He's part of a championship Super Bowl team. Anybody who contributed to that win, you revere, not revile. Okay? How about that too, man? Carson Wentz going back to a place where he's not going to play in the Coliseum, actually. Guy blows his knee out, still finishes the drive, walks into the locker room, ends the season. I don't know. You guys want to give Jalen Hurts all the credit in the world for being hurt? How about finishing a drive in the Los Angeles Coliseum? No? On a structurally damaged knee. He finished it. Well, tell me the guy's not tough. Maybe not tough mentally. Okay? In my heart of hearts, I'm grateful for Wentz. Tone is one of the best football people I know and how he sees the game. For such a young guy, it didn't end well. All things don't end well. That's right. How we would like it, but it's life. Wentz helped deliver a Super Bowl. He gets my love and respect for that alone. That's all I think you have to give someone. You don't have to like somebody, but you respect somebody for what their accomplishment was part of. Did you like his mannerisms? No. Did you like his attitude? No. Did you like the way he carried himself? No. Did you like what he did for your team? Totally. Totally. I think there's a bad vibe on Wentz in Philly. And get this. It's okay, guys. Jalen covered it. Look, he covered it. He covered it. You're good. It's time to move on. Really is. As a Philadelphia Eagle fan, you should be doing this. Hey, you know what? I hope the guy really has a great career out there in Los Angeles, just not against us. He'll always be part of Philadelphia sports history. I don't know how you don't look at it any other way, unless you're a meathead. He's got bad character. You don't know that. Don't believe everything everybody says, because then you become sheep. I mean it, man. The number one thing that's the weakest part of the media is that they'll believe each other to cover for one another because that's who they are. Because they take the word of each other. I don't take the word of anybody. I take my own word. I judge a character of a man by my word, not your word. You're not going to influence me on how I think of somebody else. I've never lived that way, and nor will I ever. But see, people do that all the time in life. Somebody will say something about someone else, and you know what they'll do? They'll take the word of that and like it's gospel. And the greatest example of that is X. Oh, he said it? It must be true. I tell my kid that all the time. Form your own opinion on things. Don't let anyone ever think for you. Okay, but it's an easy layup. Okay? And again, watch this. Hey, Carson, good luck to you, kid. Just not against us, because when we play us, man, we're going to come at you even harder, dog. Okay? And we're going to kick your ass all up and down the field. It's not personal. It's just business. Take it out of The Godfather. Hey, you see? This ain't personal. It's strictly business. You got that mentality, you're going to win. The reality is we don't know him personally. I don't know him from a can of paint. I only know what Frank told me about him. We can assume all we want. That's all it is, an assumption. All we know is he couldn't stay healthy. Facts. And he imploded in the end. Facts. He was not mentally, you know what he was? He wasn't mentally tough enough to overcome the injuries on the team and the loss of coaches that he trusted. And that's the implosion part of it. He didn't know how to handle it. which means Doug didn't help him that much. In the end, he tried supporting him, but there wasn't people, and people in the locker room were divided because of Foles. Because there was a conversation, if I'm not mistaken, you guys can correct me. Should we keep Nick or should we trade Wentz? That started to become a factor, wasn't it? Foles winning that Super Bowl was the worst thing that could have ever happened to Wentz. I think he tried to do as much after and force bad throws. I think he could never live with it. I think he could never live with it. And again, is he mentally tough? No. Because all the things that caved in around him, hey, look at Jalen Hurts, how shit caved in around him on national television with Tua. That's a totaling, but he never imploded. He never imploded. He started losing. The locker room was divided. Management became divided. Lesser talent. Coaches left. He couldn't overcome that. Is that a factor? Or is that an excuse? Absolutely not. You got to be better than that, especially when somebody gets you $38 million. Remember what Boomer Esiason said on this show that was kind of an obscure comment. You got to learn to live with the contract. Wentz couldn't learn to live with it. He didn't know how to live with it. He didn't know how to deal with it. Jalen does. Hence why you 22 or 26. That's the difference here. Absolutely. It was a real conversation in the city. I know my dad was all in on Foles after the Super Bowl win. Got to tell you, so was I. My dad is a fan. So that's all you can really. Well, here, I'll tell you this. You know what, guys? You know why I was pulling for Foles to stay in Philly? I'll tell you why I was pulling for Foles instead of Wentz to stay in Philly. Because of what he did in New Orleans. Not the Super Bowl. He showed me he could do it again. And when he showed me he could do it again, I said, you need to give this guy this team. Okay? And then what did they do? They sent him to Doug Marrone. Think about Foles' run. Outside of Philadelphia, where he got some of the best coaching in his career, he goes to the Jags with Doug Marrone. Then he goes to the shitty Bears. Then he goes to Indianapolis. Who's coaching him? The Cowboys are usually looking forward to the next game against us, saying that they think the outcome will be different. Let those idiots think that, man. They're so in a delusional franchise. It's actually comical. It's actually comical. In fairness to Foles, the Jags gave him an offer he couldn't No, of course, the money. And the Eagles were kind of in a bind because they had given Wentz the $38 million. I mean, look at how that decision is almost exactly like the Brady decision with Bledsoe, right? Or what was his name? Ryan. What was that kid's name? Ryan, the guy from Green Bay that went to Seattle, and they had Russell Wilson in the third, and they gave that guy a big contract, and then they chose Russell Wilson instead. And those are decisions that are franchise-changing decisions. Seals, you ever play Minicraft? I have no idea what that is. Tone will have to help me what that is. So, how many people in here think that the Carson Wentz era was a success? Was it Ryan? Matt Flynn? Okay, Matt Flynn, thank you. What up, Maniac? How many people would dub that a success? Wentz quit, no heart, Super Bowl ring. Ray, he can always come back to you and go like this. Super Bowl ring. Whatever you say, call him a loser, whatever. Super Bowl ring. Super Bowl ring. He was a loser, Super Bowl ring. He quit, Super Bowl ring. He was seeing ghosts, Super Bowl ring. Can't overcome it. That's a conversation ender. Super Bowl ring. Philadelphia sports fans were crying that day. Super Bowl ring. Right? Look, you don't have to like every guy that played. But what you do have to do is respect people who brought something that you never had in your lifetime, and in your father's lifetime, and in your grandfather's lifetime. Something that you haven't seen. And again, I told you this before. Philadelphia has never had a dynasty except for the Flyers. Okay? You've never had a dynasty. You've got a chance here. This is why do you know that this is why that we constantly, at 8-1, why we sit here and we are talking, get this, I would be, if I was talking sports in Dallas, like say on the radio or what have you, I would be killing the Cowboys. Jerry would have me pulled off the air. One thing about me is I'm always hungry, but I'll never be ungrateful. Damn right, man. Once you take a bite of the steak, you want another bite. They would pull me off the air in Dallas because of the way I talk. There are absolutely no moral victories in the NFL. Fans are allowed to think this way, but the moment a player starts thinking this way, they are done. JH, Micah Parsons has a loser mentality. Sills, would you do to fix our pass defense? We're going to get all into that. We're going to move on here. Let me move off the topic page. By the way, again, don't forget the segment Tone at 3:30. Angelo Cataldi will be with us at 4:30. Philly Godfather at 5:30. And throughout the program, our great friends at Hooters, folks, we really appreciate the fact that they're supporting the program now. All you have to do is email the program, dansileoshow@gmail. Give us your information, and we will send you out an absolutely great gift certificate, some merchandise. Tone's going to throw a code word out throughout the entire 4 hours. And on a football Monday, you may hear your name called. And we've been doing this. It's been a grand slam the entire time. So once again, you'll see a code word throughout the 4 hours of the program. All you have to do is email us, dansileoshow@gmail.com. And we do this from Tuesday to Friday. On a football Monday, we give you an opportunity for you to be able to win yourself those great gift certificates. So we appreciate it very much. I'm going to get to the topics here in a second, but I'm glad to see a lot of you guys in here are giving some of the kudos here to Carson Wentz and a little bit of a good luck. Hey, did it finish cool? No. Was it kind of an abortion at the end? Absolutely. It was terrible. It was a terrible ending. No one's denying that. And it was great that they moved off him, and it was great that they moved into Hurts, okay? That's what championship organizations do. You know what a lot of people like to do? That's such a great I'm sorry. I usually don't get thrown by Tone's code words, but that you got me, Tone. you got me good there on that. Okay. Yeah. You got me on that one there, man. Okay. You got me good there on that. All right. So, hey, by the way, top 10 NFL teams, top 10 NFL quarterbacks. We do this, our weekly list. We're going to get into that as well. I got a question for you coming up here about one of the players on the team here in a second. All right. Let's move into the topics here now. Does it bother you the way the Eagles are winning games this year versus how they won games last year? Does it bother you on how it looks this year compared to how they dominated? We all agree they were more dominant last year than this year. They're really not dominating anybody. They're winning. Okay? No, you look at last year's team. Hey, last year, were they 8-1 also? Were they 8-1 last year? Or were they 8-0? I mean, were they 8-1? So were they 8-1? Okay. So last year's 8-1 run to get to 8-1 versus this year's run to get to 8-1. Are you okay with how they're winning games this year compared to how they won last year? It's completely different. It's not the same. The only thing that they're doing great in pass defense this year is inside the 20 and run defense. The rest of it, you can make excuses all you want. That secondary is not very good. Okay? And it's slow. Like the Cowboy receivers were saying. They're slow. And when people talk about injuries, welcome to the NFL. Injuries are not excuses for anybody, including the 49ers. Hey, well, they're without Trent Williams and Debo. Okay, so the Eagles are going to be without Goddard. The Jets are without Rodgers. It's part of it. That's why it's a week-to-week conversation on who the best team in the league is. One player can knock you out from that. You know, you can get this. This is what makes the 8-1 stuff almost a non-factor except for the tally at the end when it comes to home field advantage. You can have an 8-1 record and you can lose Jalen Hurts. Are you still the best team in the league? No. You can have a 7-2 record in Baltimore. You lose Lamar Jackson. Are you the best team in the AFC? Or if you lose Mahomes in Kansas City? No. The record means nothing then. It just means that, hey, you built up a lot of wins. Hopefully you can hang on. Last year we dominated at the start of the game and held on. This year we keep close and make dominant plays at the end. End result, it's the same. Okay, I understand losing to Washington. Last year's team's not losing to the Jets. We let teams stay in it more. The 2022 team's not losing to the Jets. Not a chance. Not a chance. Not a chance. You're keeping teams in it more. Now, you got to remember something else. You are more of a target this year. You weren't a target last year. And what I mean by target, when you're on top of the hill, you got more people circling the summit there trying to knock you off the hill than you did trying to climb up. You know, maneuvering to get yourself to the top of the mountain. You know, that's another type of journey. Staying up on top, dude, you got everybody wanting the top spot on you. So every week you're going to get team Super Bowls. I mean, the Jets played their best game against you. And believe me, I think they played better against you than they did against Buffalo in the opener. Last year was all about strong starts. This year is about strong finishes. As scary as it looks on game day, this style wins in the playoffs. Remember, all the Super Bowl was all about strong start, weak finish. Last year, yeah. Like I said, though, the question is, are you okay with winning the way you are? Okay. For me, I think there's little room for error at the end of ball games this year than there is last year. Like you can't make a turnover because you put teams in position to beat you. You've put almost every single team except the Buccaneers in a position to beat you at every game. So there's little room for error. You could make mistakes or not have a quarterback play at the end of the year. You can't get this. So if you're going to play with that style, and some of you are okay with that style, last year you could make some mistakes at the end. This year you can't because everyone's close. One turnover costs you a ball game with this style of play this year versus last year. That's the difference. You built up a strong head of steam last year against teams. Teams were fighting back. And by the time they got to the 58th minute, if they got back into games, they weren't in it enough for them to take the game. This year, because you have allowed teams to hang in there, you have little room and little margin for error at the end this year than you did a year ago. Am I wrong? Both Washington games, Cowboy game. I can go to pretty much every game this year except Bucks. Okay? Coaching doesn't help our defense. We like to play soft and hope teams make mistakes. Yeah, but you know what, Trexler? That's becoming more of a way of how you play defense in today's NFL. Okay? That's how I think a lot of teams are playing that bend but don't break. You know why? Because most teams don't have a ton of personnel. You know, I will say this about the Eagles this year versus the Eagles last year and the style of play that they have. See, I think the Eagles have walked back. I mean, look at the dramatic walk back from having the best pass defense to the worst pass defense. Okay? And by the way, I know, and there's no question that today, and I've always said this, you have to stop the run. You have to. And that is one of the reasons why Washington hangs in every game with Philly. Remember what I told you? What's the one thing Washington has that keeps them in every Philly game? They got just as good a D-line as you. And it keeps them in every ball game. That's what keeps them in it, Washington. And they got some playmakers on the numbers. Okay? Dan, compare Hurts and Mahomes stats from this year, including rushing TDs. You know what I would say, Nunez? I would say this: who's making bigger plays instead of stats? Jalen Hurts outplayed Dak. Dak had bigger numbers. Do you want to compare that? And by the way, Mahomes has been to 5 straight AFC titles and 2 Super Bowl wins. Let's not push that aside either if you want to put rushing touchdowns. Sills, would a blowout win have helped the psyche of the team? Having a few of those under their belt last year was nice for us. How about the players? Actually, I think this year's wins probably build up more metal for you. Because last year you could coast. And there's a tendency always to pull your foot off the gas pedal. And that was one of the criticisms of last year's team. Remember, they couldn't put teams away. Remember, we go like this. They get this lead. They get out in front of teams. All of a sudden, these teams would creep back in, right? Because they couldn't put teams away. Why? Because they couldn't stop the run as well. See, what the difference with this year, they're able to win games because you know why? Teams last year were able to kind of crawl back in. Why? They could run a ball on you. You were 16th. And if you're 16th, you're a middle-of-the-road kind of football team, which means you can creep back in running the ball. What does running the ball do in the second half? It keeps play action alive, and it keeps you in 3rd and short usually. Okay? So, am I cool with it? Dude, 8-1's 8-1. All right? And I think you build more metal up for games that you have coming up here. These next 5 games are going to tell me all I need to know about the Eagles. The Cowboy game was the beginning. Told me a lot about the team and about Hurts. I can't take how people think that Dak Prescott should be getting credit. And people are saying that he outplayed. He did not. That's like saying Jalen outplayed Mahomes in the Super Bowl. He did not. Mahomes made more critical plays in critical situations to win the biggest game on the planet. End of story. Yeah, but he didn't have the – who cares? It's about making big plays and not the bad play. It's about situational excellence, not about numbers. You play to win the game. Thank you, Prince. That's why sometimes numbers don't have to be gaudy. What are the 2 numbers in that game on Sunday that gave Jalen that game? 130 QBR and the percentage of completion percentage. He was accurate and efficient. I think Dak was 115. Dak had a good completion percentage. But throwing to some dude named Tolbert is a situational mistake, which the Cowboys are known for. Right? To me, that's how you gauge a quarterback, not statistically here. No picks for Hurts. No bad plays. Making the critical plays in critical moments. That's how you gauge a quarterback, man. Look, there's effective and efficient plays versus guys who are just throwing for yards. Remember what I told you about coordinators? There's coordinators in the NFL that want to put up big numbers and big scoring numbers. They're not trying to win the game. They just want to put big numbers up because that's how you get a job in the NFL. Putting big numbers up. Can I tell you who that guy is? It's Kellen Moore. Watching Kellen Moore, he loves big numbers. But does he win games? I see, you know what? It looks like the Cowboys have moved to the West Coast and now the Chargers. Sills, weren't you impressed with that Jets win? I know, it looked like the Cowboys. I don't think Kellen Moore is a very good offensive coordinator. I just don't. Hey, MC, sounds like Miami. Miami's a textbook example of that. When you got to get into a game against a team like Kansas City, Philly, and Buffalo, and you can't win, what are we talking about? Those are the playoff teams. One of those teams may be a Super Bowl or AFC opponent. You can't beat those teams? What are we talking about? Right? What exactly are we talking about here? I think this year's team's building metal up. And get this, I'll tell you something that I will add to what the remarkable start to this season has been. I don't know what these next 5 games are going to bring. I just know this. For them to continue the momentum, those guys must be mentally exhausted. Yeah, thank you, Death Row. They must be mentally exhausted. This bye couldn't have come at a better time for physical. I hear Nick gave them the entire week off, which is wonderful. Rest your mind, your soul, and your heart and your body. You must be completely fried mentally. You've been going since the middle of February at a high fever pitch with a sense of urgency every freaking week, every game. You must be mentally exhausted because that team doesn't have letdowns. They may have bad plays in games, but they don't have mental letdowns like you see in Dallas with the Cardinals or the Niners. Those are mental letdowns. Even when you're not getting exceptional play. By the way, boy, that Bradbury signing looks terrible. Or extension. Is Howie wrong for making that extension? No. Okay, so this is what you got. Slay's not horrible, but he's showing time and signs of father time. Injuries, slower. And then your other corner, too, is having an underwhelming year. Makes the whole group look bad. Slay's not a Pro Bowler. Bradbury is one of the worst graded corners in the league. It makes the whole group look shitty. Makes Slay look worse, actually. Okay? You want to pin it on Slay? Wrong guy. You need to pin it on Bradbury. Now, again, like I said, am I mad at Howie for signing James Bradbury to a deal? No. I pat him on the back. It's the right thing to do. You got to keep taking swings. I don't want a guy who doesn't take swings. That's who I don't want as my GM. Jerry Jones needed a power back. Did he not in that game on Sunday? You should have moved heaven and earth to try to get Derrick Henry on that team. You should have did everything in your power to get him on that team. He puts Derrick Henry on that team. They beat the Eagles. Instead, he stands pat. Philly got better. And Philly pushed you further back in the rearview mirror in the NFC East. Dude, you're not going anywhere with that mentality. Howie Roseman's constantly looking to get that team better, and he's going to take can I tell you who Howie Roseman is? He's Mike Trout. And what I mean by that is this. He's going to hit 320. He's going to hit you 42 homers. He's going to hit you 130 RBIs. Well, he's going to strike out 250 times. This guy swings for the fences. This guy ain't swinging for singles. He's swinging for the fences. You know, back in the day, nobody would ever take the walk of shame with 4 Ks in a game. No, 200 strikeouts, nobody believed in that kind of mentality. Today, it's a fundamental way of how you play the ball game. If you're Machado or if you're Trout or if you're Harper or any of these guys, they don't mind the strikeouts. Back in the day, the walk of shame was terrible. You know what organizations like Dave Dombrowski want today? They want people that swing for the fences. You get 3 strikeouts and you hit a bomb and you win the game. That's why you're paid $35 million. It's a great mentality. I want people who think like that. Keep swinging. Keep swinging away. Keep signing guys. Keep looking for dudes. Okay? You know what? I have a question that I think will be a little bit, it's about Goddard. Okay? And I'm going to do that because I'm going to take a time out here, but I got a question on Goddard. And I'm going to do it here in a second. Don't forget the segment tone. My guy is going to join me at 3:30. Angelo Cataldi is going to join us at 4:30. Philly Godfather is going to join us at 5:30. Happy Wingsgiving from Hooters here in November. The iconic Hooter girls want to thank you guys so much for going into all the locations from Rhode Island down through Jersey, through King of Prussia, with specials each and every single day. We're so proud to have it here. Ice cold Coors Light drafts, $2.99. 25% of each purchase is going to go to local charities. Hooter calendars, 2024. There's $100 gift certificates inside or worth of $100 inside the calendars for you to be able to sit there and go. We really appreciate it. Did I say Philly Godfather? Philly 500 will join us at 5:30 Eastern time. So we will join him and he will join us at 5:30 Eastern, Philly 500. We invite you to jump aboard with us. Again, northeasttutors.com. That's northeasttutors.com. Lunch specials Monday through Friday, 11:30 to 3. Boneless wings. Happy hour Monday through Friday, 4 to 6. 6 items, $6. Get the fried pickles. I love this day a lot. It's one of my favorite. Seafood Sundays, half price. Get the buffalo shrimp. I love the steamers. Always awesome. Military Mondays, 20% off. Tuesday, buy 10 wings, get 10 boneless free. Wing Wednesdays, 1983. Year the place was found. NortheastHooters.com. That's NortheastHooters.com. And when you're rolling to any one of the Hooters, do me a favor, tell them Big Sil sent you.
Football and Hooters, the perfect pair.